Hi, welcome back to the Meadow Florals. I've been wanting to get back into Floral Stories. I think the last one I did was Status, and I've been working some freelance floral jobs, and I got these Ranunculus a week or two ago, probably 2 weeks ago. See, they're dying, but yeah, today I want to talk about Ranunculus. So, Ranunculus to me is really similar to a rose or a carnation. You can identify a ranunculus because it's a round, big, giant circular head, and it has layers and layers of petals. Oh, see. This is a ranunculus pretty much fully bloomed. The only reason it hasn't bent is because the florist wired it through the center, which is really common when you work with them in floral arrangements. I think the stems are pretty strong, but the wire always helps, and if you want to preserve them or keep them dried, it helps to keep their shape if they have a wire. There's a few different kinds of ranunculus. The only two that I know about are the standard one with the round head, and then also butterfly ranunculus, which has a more flat shape or a flatter shape. I think I have an example here, but they're all pretty close to dying, so it's hard to see, but I'll put pictures. You can see the difference. There's less layers of petals, and the butterfly ranunculus looks like the kind that grows in meadows and just grow wildly. Oh, and you can also tell the difference because it's kind of like a spray. These larger head ones sometimes will have multiple on a stem or like another bud, but this is almost kind of like a rose and a spray rose. At least that's how I make sense of it. So when I was researching, you kind of get the different shapes of ranunculus by the way that they grow. So the ones that grow wildly in the meadows are much smaller with less petals, and they come in less varieties of color, versus when they're grown in the greenhouse for mass production, they focus on growing it for the shape of the head and how big they can get the head in different colors, and they're really particular about the growing conditions. Normally, ranunculus grow naturally in more wet conditions, like near streams of water, meadows, or what else? Woodlands and stuff like that. The name ranunculus itself comes from the Latin word, and the rana part means frog, and unculus means little. And so the word meaning little frog because, they grow in areas where frogs would be with water and wet conditions. So some different names for ranunculus are, little frog, the English interpretation of the Latin word, and also crow's foot because when they're being grown in the greenhouse, I believe they use the corms. I think it's a version of a seed or a bulb, and that's how they the seed kind of looks like a bird's foot. And then another name is buttercup, also like meadow buttercup, Persian buttercup, lots of buttercup variations. And then bachelor's button, and there's another one, spearwort, coyote's eyes, and there's some Italian variations that I just learned about with stripes on them. I think it's called striata. That's another variation. Now we'll talk about the symbolism of ranunculus. I won't go into like color details. I think I'd like to talk about flower color meanings at different time. But for ranunculus, they represent charm, attractiveness, radiant beauty, and it has kind of a romantic undertone, but also because of the flowers kind of, I would describe it as like a joyful looking flower, like it comes in vibrant colors, and it's just something, it's hard to not look at it because it just looks really good in its prime. This is a really big one, but they're just really big, fascinating, and vibrant. So if you give them to someone, it kind of means, you know, you're fascinating to them, you're charming, you know, a charming person. When a person is charming, people gravitate towards them. So it's the same with ranunculus. So someone might gift you a bouquet with ranunculus or a bouquet of only ranunculus to say that to you. And yeah, that's a good symbolism to have. So ranunculus comes in pretty much the whole rainbow of colors except blue. I haven't seen blue, but I have seen red, orange, yellow, like bright yellow, pale cream yellow, light pink, hot pink, purple, and a chocolate color, deep red, bright red. I haven't really seen green. I think I've seen peach. But also, as ranunculus, as the life goes on, the colors kind of fade. So maybe if you buy an orange, you might end up with a peach. Like as they die, the color kind of fades. You can't tell here, but these were white, so they kind of just end up looking creamy or like a yellowish. Yeah, I don't have the best lighting right now. See, look at this dead one. It completely dried out. That's the wire coming through the middle. But yeah, the colors fade as they go on. So if you're into dried flowers, you get to see different colors. Okay. There's a story about ranunculus that I read about today. I believe it comes from Persia, and they were saying there's two variations of the story. There was a prince who was interested in a nymph, and he was singing songs to her to try to get her to, I guess, be with him. And she, denied him, so he died of heartbreak. And where he died, the ranunculus grew. So that's the first story. And then the second one is that basically the same beginning, but the friends of the nymph were tired of his singing, so they killed him. And not killed him, sorry. they turned him into a ranunculus. But yeah, those are the two stories. And I wanted to look up more folklore, but I ran out of time and I really wanted to film it today. Was there anything else? Oh, price-wise. If you buy ranunculus, so in grocery stores like HEB, Randall's and stuff, I've seen the ranunculus for like $13, give or take, and then at wholesalers it could be a little bit more expensive, like in the 20s and 30s. I'm not sure why, maybe just because of the farms or a higher stem count or the more rare varieties, but it's pretty expensive, ranunculus. I think they're just a high dollar flower. But that's good to know if you want to buy some for yourself. And uses for them, as far as I know, I have seen them used a lot in weddings, some just regular flower bouquets, but it's more of a high dollar, high scale, so definitely in different events. But I work a lot of weddings and I do see a lot of ranunculus. A lot of white, but also sometimes vibrant colors depending on what time of the year. But yeah, you can use them in anything you like because they add a nice touch to any arrangement. So that's it for my ranunculus video. I wanted to keep it short and sweet because I didn't do that much research. If I think of something else, I'll add it, but that's all. And I want to come back and do more flowers as I get some. And yes, I'm gonna link the websites that I was reading from in the description so you can read about it yourself if I missed something or didn't tell it right. But yeah, I think ranunculus is a great flower. I love anything that has a bunch of petals. It actually doesn't have a scent, which that's one thing I think I love in flowers too, is when they have a sweet scent, but it's okay, it doesn't really need it because it just looks great on its own. It doesn't need any scent, so yeah. That's ranunculus. They're just great. Let me show you before I end the video. That's ranunculus. See ya.